Hello, welcome. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about light language. So many of you are probably familiar with light language and many of you probably are not. Light language is the modality, the energy modality that I work with my clients, and I absolutely love it. It certainly has been a game changer on the healing front, on the expansion front, on the access of multi-dimensionality front, and it goes by many names. I usually call it light language or languages of light, and I also really love the languages of love. So you might also recognize it as soul languages or soul songs, which is what I used to call it even before I knew what it was. Um, it can also be called angelic languages, galactic languages. So the language is the key thing, right? The vocalization, the symbology of language when it's written, the ways in which it's spoken through different hand and body movements um, is also part of that language. So where do I want to begin with this for those who don't know about it? So if we think in terms of everything is frequency, and there are many levels of density within our 3D reality, right? My glasses are very dense because they're physical. The brick wall is going to be even denser with that physicality. We feel like we're dense as humans in our bodies. However, we're actually more space than we are density. And we have the energetic bodies around us. So most of you who are watching this probably already know this, that we are really an energetic, spiritual technology as a human form. So when we're working with light language or languages of light, languages of love, they connect with us from the very, very high frequency dimensions beyond the fifth dimension, right? So their purpose, their mission, the consciousness of these energetic transmissions is to do, let's just say, do a number of things. So they uplift our frequency. So let's say, for instance, there's a deep sadness or grief that we carry within us. Once you start receiving light language is almost like a very gentle tap, tap, like a chiseling away and breaking apart the patterns of density, of emotional patterns, thought patterns, as well as deeper patterns of holding through, ailments and dis-ease. So the light language enters down, and its purpose is to break up any density and allow us to expand and raise our frequency into a higher expression. So let's say if we're used to feeling a lot of sadness, let's just say sadness or maybe even depression, what's going to happen is the light language is going to come through, and it's going to elevate you, maybe not within your first transmission, but within a short period of time in general, and we'll talk about that. It's going to uplift that sadness into experiencing happiness. Okay? Happiness will get chiseled any other areas that are stuck, right, that are velcroed, that need to be healed, that need to be revealed to us, that need to be released, can move up into joy, on, into love, into bliss, into states of expansion. So that's kind of a little bit of an example of how it works, we could say, in our emotional field. The other ways that light language supports us is through helping our programmed thought forms that don't serve us, that are outdated, that we've been conditioned into, that limit our thoughts or our beliefs or our understandings of our potential as a human species, right? We've got like this cap that's sort of been put over us, and we can say over our crown or over our third eye, that creates a very small aperture of what we believe or think we know of as why are we here? Who are we? What is a human being, right? What is the species of humanity? Light language begins to open up that aperture and expand it to help reveal our true potentials that are connected to higher dimensions, higher realities, higher expressions, all of them innately connected to God, to Source, to the divine, however you hold that for yourself. But they're working in tandem with the divine. And they are here as a technology to assist humanity in our awakening, in our expansion, in rising to our full divine human potential. So how we receive light language is either we receive it directly because we have been initiated into speaking light language, so to speak. And oftentimes it will most often just randomly, let's say, come online for us. And if you've been a Reiki practitioner, if you've done other healing modalities, if you are a meditator, if you've been deep into prayer life, if you've been deep into healing your heart space, oftentimes light language will just organically begin, either through the body, through what we could call mudras as well, through writing, or if you are able to really surrender, through the voice. And when that begins streaming into your being, it will come when it's meant to come. It will enter in as your soul is ready for it, right? As your heart is open to it, as your consciousness is able to receive it and hold it. And as that starts happening, we could say you become upgraded very quickly, right? Your awakening process is expedited. And it's really efficient and it's really effortless. Most often, people get light language activations, right? We're going to do a light language activation at the end of this, a small one because we are in the full moon. So I want to give a little blessing for the full moon energies and for your highest good for this time. But it's that recognition that these languages transmit energy that then access your energy field your consciousness, your heart. We don't have to know what it's doing. And most of the time we don't know what it's doing, right? We don't know where it's going. We don't know how it's going to land in our either physical body, in our energy bodies, in our consciousness. But rest assured, if we're open to receive it, you will begin to recognize and experience the shifts fairly rapidly. So when we receive light language, there's a couple key things that need to take place. First of all, it's best to be hydrated before, but definitely after, because these are biophotonic packets of, of light, of information. And what they're doing is they really need that water to help absorb them and to assimilate them into our systems. The second thing that's really needed is that we sense the little shifts and the information that comes after we've received light language. And I'll give a couple examples in a minute. And when we receive that information or those impulses or that new intuition, the invitation, the suggestion is to listen and follow, because you'll start to be guided by the information that's coming down into your system that is there to support you in aligning with what is in your highest good. So saying yes to what you're receiving and listening and following is very important. The last thing that I would say that's really important is to not necessarily overdo it, right? There's no need to do light language after light language after light language. Like we might do another video or then another video that we're watching. We don't need activation after activation after activation. And I usually recommend at least a day in between receiving light language. And sometimes, like my clients, most of them, I see them every other week, because that allows everything that we've worked with consciously, right, as well as the light language that they receive to really do its work, so that what is being communicated integrates and becomes embodied. So once again, embodiment is my mojo, and embodiment is how these energies then root in and become us, because they actually are us. And that's the multi-dimensionality of this. And I'll go there in a minute as well. So we want to be integrating these energies, their wisdom, their guidance, their light, how their light is interacting with our cellular structure, with our brain, with our nervous system, with their areas of unconsciousness or subconscious that go in and they start, right, tap, 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 tapping, chiseling it down so that it clears. And if we just do it again and again and again, over and over, it interferes with the depth of the process, the depth of the healing, the depth of the knowing more deeply the new you that is starting to show up and evolve. So those are those three things. So let's go with the multidimensionality first, and then I'm going to make a note to go back over a couple examples. So the multidimensionality piece of this, and take this as resonates for you depending on where you're on your your journey, okay? Because if you're just in your early developmental stages of your journey, this may not quite make sense yet. So just, hang on and go along with the ride, and eventually it will. And if you're already along your way, then you'll probably understand what it is I'm saying. So we have guides, we have support, we've got the angelics, we've got many, many, many high-level beings that are in service to the divine and in service to the awakening of humanity and the awakening to all beings on this planet. We also have our highest self aspects. These are fractals, soul fractals of light, of higher frequency consciousness of us. So oftentimes, the light language will be streaming from perhaps other guides. Okay, so that could be angelics, that could be galactics. And if you don't do light language yourself, if you're seeing a practitioner, they come through the practitioner, and these higher frequencies, each one, we could say each pocket of light that comes through is like a full library in and of itself of information that is honed specifically for us individually and for a collective. So we're going to do a collective activation today, but there also will be the information that is just for you and you and you. Every being individual receives exactly what is right and true for them. Other times, you're actually receiving information from your highest self. So, all of the intricacies I couldn't tell you exactly, but what I can say is, as a practitioner, your highest self communicates with my highest self and then streams what is right and true for you through my vocalization or through whatever movements my hands are doing. Both are transmitting codes and streams of light that once you start sensitizing to the energy, you can begin to feel as it's accessing your system. But again, once it accesses your system, you're coming into a relationship with it. You can get a ton of light language over and over and over, but if you're not actually holding it and opening to love, it's not really going to land completely. And if you're not following its guidance, your sensitization is not going to continue to increase so that your frequency raises at a speed at which it could. The potential is there for it too. And if you don't integrate it all deeply and allow it to do its magic, you're not going to embody these consciousnesses that are there to support you. So these are some of the ways in which this streams through. Can also stream high consciousness from the natural world. And nature really loves, animals love light language because they don't even need to try to figure it out, right? We always kind of want to go, well, what was that? What did you say? What did that mean, right? Some people can interpret it, or at least what I think is probably portions of it, because if we think of that every sound or every tone is laden with thousands of bits, just pulling that out, bits of information, then interpreting all of that information, um, even if it's just downloaded, there's probably only going to be a fraction that's being interpreted. However, there might be certain, messages that are specific that do need to come through for the recipient to actually hear and understand. Many people who have never had light language before, they will often receive something. Or maybe they'll come up sometimes and say, when I've done like public events, oh my gosh, like this is what you said. And I believe that's part of what I said. And oftentimes it matches the emotional components that are coming through. And that's fun for me because I don't really try to interpret what's coming through. I just let it flow, let it flow. And just be a channel for that love to bless whoever is open to receive it. So just a couple quick examples, and then I'm just going to do a little full moon blessing. So when I first started speaking light language, when I actually knew when it really started, it was back in 2015. And I did not know what it was, and it kind of freaked me out, and I didn't surrender right away because it was completely foreign to me. And after probably a week or so, it was on winter solstice. Winter solstice is magic portals. On winter solstice, I was doing my practice, and then it just started flowing and flowing and flowing out. And in the middle of it, I was both laughing and crying at the same time. I was releasing so much heaviness and so much who knows what. And yet I was experiencing the joy of what was also coming in. So there was this simultaneous experience of my humanness releasing grief and my higher self and my next level humanness really like feeling the joy and the freedom and the upliftment. So what I noticed very quickly was that my tendency towards melancholy for most of my life began to uptick really, really quick. And I started really accessing and knowing what joy felt like. Not happiness, joy, right? Joy is a state. It's a constant state of being that is always present around us and within us. When our frequency can raise to the frequency of joy, the same as unconditional love, the same as bliss, all of that. Peace, all of those states of being that are not emotions. Emotions come and go, they rise and fall. States of being are constant. They are who we are. And this is part of where the light language is helping to remember us home to who we are, that we are these states of being. We are these levels of consciousness that are beyond our human experience. So joy was coming through very, very rapidly, and that quickly connected me with the fairy realm. And so that's when I started recognizing, oh, okay, right? We're expanding into a whole other territory that I really didn't know that much about at the time. At least not in this way, not direct experience way. And then there were times, so after that, my body stopped wanting certain things. And it was very clear, right? No, don't do that. And, it was something, maybe it was something that, maybe I would be normally reading something or watching something that had a pretty heavy tone to it. And my body would say, don't, don't do that. If I didn't listen, right, and if I went towards it anyway, I could viscerally feel an energy drop, a frequency drop, a consciousness drop. So either that would happen. The other thing that would happen is if I were watching something that had a lot of density to it, then what would happen is the light language would start coming through really, really, really quick to clear the consciousness that I was taking in. It would clear, 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 and that would be like a very obvious message, stop. So then I would stop, and then I learned over time not to participate in certain frequencies, right? Not to listen, not to watch, not to entertain. The same with the foods. Foods just would be like, no. And if I would ingest it, I could tell immediately, like, oh, it doesn't sit well. It doesn't sit well with my soul. It doesn't sit well in my body. It doesn't feel like a loving thing to do for myself. So then I would let go of that. A lot of mourning process around these things that I was guided to release because the frequency was dense, a lot of sadness, a lot of things that maybe I loved and they were not in my highest good or in my best interest. So then as I would say yes to what was in my best interest, my frequency would continue to rise, my consciousness would continue to expand, my heart would continue to open. And so I just kept saying yes. My healing worked, changed dramatically. The light language that came through would evolve as well into higher frequencies because I was saying yes to the higher frequencies and consciousness and no to the density. And the last example that I'll share is I can remember one time, at this time, I was still doing some caregiving. I was living in Los Angeles, and I was not happy doing the caregiving. I was just feeling a lot of my own negativity around this and unhappiness about it and frustration about it. And I was driving home one day and the traffic was bad. I was really tired. I was, really cranky and I was just agitated, I was like, just fit to be tied and weepy a little bit because I was overtired. And the light language started coming through and I could feel this beautiful assistance lifting my frequency. And I started feeling more peace and I started feeling joy again. And I started recognizing that I don't have to choose to feel all of this frustration, that I can just sit and chill out while I was in traffic. Just sit and chill out. And so I started asking, I think this was the first time that I started really communicating with the light language, my highest self, right, wherever the light language was coming from at that time, and asking if they, if this is what was making me feel better, and how did that work? And basically that what they told me is that as the light codes come in, they're transmuting the dense energy into a higher frequency so that it uplifts those tendencies of that, frustration or anger, those emotions into a higher state. However, I had to be willing to also follow what their guidance was, and that was let go. Let go of needing it to be different. and just be present in the moment right there, feeling the joy, being gracious about the joy, choosing the joy, and recognizing that the stories that I was creating in my head was me creating my experience of suffering. So, these were all just in the first year, pretty much, of this. And then, so lastly, what I want to say is, if your system is really open to receive, and you recognize that light language really resonates you as a modality, right? As an energy modality, as a technology that really supports your journey, don't be surprised if you come about some glitches every now and then. Usually, once you get an activation, if depending on how strong the activation is, how much you're resonating, how much you're taking in, a number of those things, how ready your soul is to receive and to allow these to work with you, technology around you will sometimes start to go a little bit haywire, and it usually takes a while for your technology to adjust. So there are very many stories from, when I would do classes, and, students would leave after whatever class we were doing, and then I'd always do an activation. And and then I'd get these phone calls like, oh my gosh, like this happened on the way home, and this happened with my computer, the next day, or, my phone wouldn't work, all of that. So just know that things get affected because as you raise your energy, your frequency, you are emitting a very different electrical signal or magnetic signal, perhaps. I don't really know. And I remember during that first period of time, it was always the kitchen light. Every time I'd walk into the kitchen, I would blow the light bulbs in the kitchen during the first probably 3 or 4 months. So it took a time or two before I really connected the dots, like, oh, okay, this is my frequency has just now upped another notch. And for whatever reason, that kitchen socket was, I don't know, maybe it was a little weak or something, I don't know. So light language has been said, and I believe this to be the technology, the embodied technology for our evolution. And it is also the future of our, or let's say the linguistics of the future, of humanity. And many say that it is actually the linguistics of humanity way back before, like tracing it back, before biblical times, probably into Atlantis and Lemuria. And it also begins to connect our brains in a whole new way so that they operate like whole brain operation, and it starts opening us up to telepathy. So we don't have to understand what the words or the symbols are. It's recognizing what is being spoken to on your heart and in your soul, and to be listening then to the very subtle guidance that will invite you to say yes to the things that are for your very highest good, and to begin releasing those things that no longer serve you, that it's time to say goodbye to. All right, so I am going to start offering here in the near future 30-minute activation. So this is different than larger sessions. 30-minute activations will be there to support people who want to work intentionally with something going on in their life in that moment that they would like support from, that will help them to expedite and have a more efficient process on your journey. Deeper healing, clearing, balancing, harmonizing, creative energy, intentional, intention setting, things like that. We have a lot of support around us that wants to help and assist us. We simply have to ask and then receive in the ways in which we're going to be able to listen and follow, right? Follow the yellow brick road that unfolds. All right. So I hope that was helpful. And, there's probably a lot more that we could say about it, but those are the main things that, again, your embodiment process will tell you so much more than what I can convey in words. So, and you'll find out what that is for you and the truths about it for you and what resonates for you individually. So, on this full moon in Aquarius, which really is that sign, right, that is going to be taking us into this future, coming in November, I think, more solidly, that's going to be creating the higher vision, the new earth realities, supporting people and really coming together, and creating that unified consciousness and that one love heart. So I want to do a little bit of energy to just support that and to support everybody's intention, whatever you're working with right now, and whatever is in your highest good and the highest good for all. So I invite you just to get comfortable for a moment. And then just relax your body. Take a breath in and exhale. And as you exhale and relax, just allow your awareness to sink down and then feel that you're in the back of your body, right? Feel that you're down in the root and between your shoulder blades. We spend most of our time up and out. Come in to the body. Sink back into the back of your body. And just relax. As we call forth Mother, Father, God, Goddess, Divine Source, Love, Light, and Life of all that is, to stream down through all the realms with your purity, with your peace, with the depth of your love, emitting life through all of life here on this planet. Down through your crown, down through your physicality, down into the earth beneath you, calling forth all of your guides, all of our guides of the highest light and love, to be present, to surround, to support, to protect, to guide, to teach, to lead. And your own highest selves of the highest light and love. Those aspects of you, those fractals of light that are calling your frequency, calling your heart up to a higher and higher love, matching the frequencies of those aspects of you, that are both future and ancient, that know us better than we know ourselves. Asking for their support to receive the love, the upliftment, the healing, the joy, the recognition of all of the potentials, the abundance, the flourishing of life around us, and the beauty of who we each are. On this full moon, we call forth the silvery rays, the presence of these energies supporting us, these feminine luminescence that will be raining down for the next few days. Mishka Tukshiti, revealing what needs to be revealed, releasing what is ready to be released. So just offer up your own prayer for that which is in your highest good and the highest good of all. So just breathe, inhale, exhale, and just allow the codes, the light, these biophotonic lights to meet the light that is already in your cells. To increase your light quotient. Mashkut I ayana esiam muskayaniati mushket it ayut uyat isamut ushit I ayanat alama ikosham ayanat iki. Simply allow love to flow through you. Embrace you, hold you, heal you, remember you, to you. You in your highest expression, you in your highest truth, you in your highest states of love, of joy, of peace. Take a breath in, exhale. Skashalaya heki tushiati aki. Mirsutialaya hiki ai ki isusham iki tiatumiani aki washkat I mo ayanat I aki 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 aki. Take a breath in, let go, release. Keep your eyes closed for a moment, or keep your gaze soft, looking at the ground. Just sensing and feeling anything in your awareness, any sensations, any things that moved through your inner vision, flashed into your head and out. Feel a sense of groundedness all the way down, connecting to the earth. May you feel ease and grace, peace and joy, and deep love as you receive the blessings for this moon. Be well.